Advocacy Council.
Good Thursday morning, Jonesboro. This is meteorologist Tim Root with your KLEK 1 to 2.5 forecast. Lots of clouds developing today, windy, the high around 60 degrees. The south wind up to 30 miles per hour. Breezy overnight, chance of showers, overnight temperature in the low 40s. Clouds and showers expected in the mid-40s Friday, and more rain showers on and off for Friday night and Saturday, and the high Saturday around 40. Jonesboro's community radio station, we're KLEK 1 to 2.5 FM.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. A suicide attack on a vehicle convoy in Indian-administered Kashmir has left at least 18 Indian paramilitary officers dead. European plane manufacturer Airbus says it'll stop making the A380 Super Jumbo. Officials from more than 60 countries are attending a US-led conference on Middle East security in Poland. And the US says sanctions will remain in place against North Korea until it gives up its nuclear weapons.
It's 9:01.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
Good morning and happy Thursday to you, and happy Valentine's Day to all of you out there. You're tuned in to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. I'm your host, Kabila Jones, and my special guests today are Mr. Leo and Dr. Tamara Pace Glover. Mr. Leo works for Families Inc. right here in Jonesboro, provides a variety of therapy counseling services, and Dr. Tamara is a professor of social work at Arkansas State University. Also, she is a certified life coach. Her business is Pace Empowerment, and she is also a pageant coordinator. She also holds the title of Mrs. Arkansas United States. So thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And so in honor of Valentine's Day, all things hearts and flowers and whatever, we're going to kick off our marriage chronicles. I've been thinking a lot about this. I used to be married, and I haven't given up on love, and I know there are a lot of people out there like me, but there are just some things that people some conversations they need to have, and things they need to do before they jump the broom, walk down the aisle, whatever their choice is. So I want to get into, okay, let's have these real conversations. Let's be grown-ups. Mm-hmm. You know, you found a partner, you say you're in love, now you're engaged. Okay, sometimes people are like, I think, so let's start talking about these real conversations that people need to have. I want to start off with, and this may seem kind of cliche, but getting to know your partner. How do people really get to know or try to get to know their partner?
Well, I guess we'll chime right on in. Okay. First thing I would say is, in getting to know your partner, just don't be in a rush, we didn't get married till just 4 years ago. I was 37 years old when I got married for the first time. The only time, but I wasn't in a rush, You as a person, you have an idea of what you really, really want in life, and you should have a perspective as to the things that you want to accomplish in a relationship and that you also want in a partner. And I've seen movies and we talk about people making lists and all kind of stuff like that. But in the end, it is something that's actually coming from the mind, from the heart, as to what you want. Mm-hmm. So, you mentioned people getting engaged. I hear people often saying, oh, well, I'm engaged, but they really don't have a plan on actually getting married. They want to just be engaged. They just get stuck on that part. I'm sure you've heard of people being engaged for years. Mm-hmm. So you need to actually have a mindset on actually getting married first before you ask them, will you marry me? Really want to be married.
And you have to date with a purpose. Okay. I think that's very important, to date with a purpose. But before you can, truly get to know and understand another person, you have to truly know yourself. Okay. And when you know who you are and whose you are, it makes a world of difference. And for Leonardo and I, honestly, we were friends for a very long time, almost 2 years before we decided to be in a relationship, to actually a courtship, to actually date one another seriously. And so when you're dating someone seriously, it's on a whole nother level. And honestly, dating, I feel like when you're dating someone, you're just trying to get to know them, and you should date many people, honestly. Most of the time in our culture, and I'm not just going to say it, I'm going to say a younger generation. We think that when we're dating someone, it's just me and that other person. But honestly, you should date multiple people, and I mean a platonic relationship, not sexual. Because when you think about dating, nowadays we think, oh, if I'm dating this person, then I'm actually having, those type of relations with that individual, and it shouldn't be like that. If you're going to date someone, it should be strictly just getting to know that individual. So therefore, you have a whole list when you go out on dates, when you go out, when you spend quality time together. And so, which means that we have an understanding that, I'm getting to know you, but at the same time, I may be getting to know someone else, because I don't want to put all of my eggs in this basket and then I'm let down. But then again, when you're dating and you find that person, you say, well, I've talked to this person, and I've gotten to know this other person, and I've realized that this is more of a better fit to me. Then you can enter into a courtship. Because it's not until you decide that, I've really made it up in my mind that I'm ready to take things to another level. But as long as you're searching and searching and searching for someone, then you'll always be kind of like a step behind. It's only when you are at a good place in your life where you can decide that, I'm not necessarily looking for someone. I'm out here just trying to, really trying to find out what it is that I want. And my husband mentioned having a list. I think it's important for you to have standards. And when you know your standards, and when you have expectations from yourself and what you have to offer in a relationship, then you don't let anyone else, jeopardize those standards or bring you down, or, you don't sacrifice those standards. Because the moment you do that, then the moment you say, well, what matters to me the most is not important anymore. So.
And I just want to add one thing to that too, with the getting to know one another. You just got to be honest.
That's
That's the realest thing ever. In dealing with people, as you mentioned earlier, I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I deal with, relationship type issues, marital issues as well. And it's a lot of lying going on. And I will just admit, we had our little period where things wasn't just all great peaches and cream, and it was some storytelling going on too. But once we decided to say, all right, look, this is what we're going to do, then all the truths have to come out. And when I say, in my opinion, all of the truths need to
everything.
come out. All the skeletons out the closet. All of the out of the closet, and just go ahead and just tell it. Because if that person actually really wants to be with you, and you guys share that connection, then you should be able to trust them with your information. And not only that, understand they should be receptive and understanding of your feelings toward that situation, and just, hey, okay, this is what it is, and then move on. But oftentimes we leave stuff in the closet, and then that skeleton creep on out later on,
and you surprised,
and then you're surprised, and it causes a whole bunch of conflict.
I was going to ask you, is it a such thing as sharing too much? And then at what point in the relationship, though, should you share? Saying, I'll just use it. Okay. At the point of dating, or when you finally enter the courtship, or is that when you should really start sharing? Someone may have had a traumatic past. Something traumatic may have happened. At what point should you share?
Well, for me, I think it goes with once you get to the part, like we said, the courtship. Because, if it's just platonic and we just kind of like just friends, no, you don't need to know all my
not all my business.
I'm just keeping it real. And we also know that when people first meet, you really mean the facade.
You mean the representation.
Who they want to be, or who they want you to think that they are. We all know that. And so that's part of the getting to know each other, is getting past the facade and actually getting to a point where you trust one another. And then that's when, you say, okay, what are we doing here? And you both agree this is what we're doing. And then it's, it doesn't have to be as soon as you say, okay, this is what we're doing, then let's go into the trash. But it needs to shortly follow thereafter that some real discussions need to go on about anything, as we call it today, tacky. from the past. Go ahead.
You're allowing yourself to be vulnerable with that individual, but that's only when trust is established. And that's even for both my husband and myself. You know, in the line of work that we do, in order for us to truly make progress with the clients that we serve, it's only when we have established a therapeutic rapport. So when you've established a relationship, a strong relationship, and you're getting ready to enter into a courtship, then you can go ahead and allow yourself to be vulnerable. But it's only when you can let down, again, like my husband said, the facade, and you can be transparent and authentic with that individual, that you can move to the next level. Because if I keep giving him what I think he wants and it's not me, eventually all of that's going to die down and it's going to change. And that's when you always hear people say, man, when I married him or when I met him, they weren't like that. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. You just didn't see.
The facade was still up.
The facade was still there, and vice versa. I heard someone say this, that oftentimes men get with women thinking that they won't change. And women get with men thinking that they will change. Both perceptions are skewed, and both are so far-fetched, and it's almost like you're setting yourself up for disaster or for a horrible relationship. An unhealthy relationship, I think, is what's more important, because nowadays we see a lot of people in a lot of unhealthy relationships. Even now, in junior high and high school, you have no clue of what it really takes to be in a relationship, or what it's like to, to truly, quote unquote, date or enter into a courtship, because you haven't fully found out who you are.
And I try to get that across to some of the young ladies that I mentor. Like, it's okay to, hang out, but don't call yourself so in love and you're just with this person, and then you allow yourself to be open to heartbreak, because they're, like you said, they're not doing what you thought they should, what you think they should be doing, and they're not who you think they should be, and on and on and on.
Well, and then I've seen a couple of things on my news feed, and just a couple of articles where young women who were dating, and this was so heartbreaking, and I think I mentioned the video, I showed it to you, Leo, but a young lady, a Caucasian female, she was dating a guy, and this probably happened years ago, but the guy broke up with her, and she ended up shooting herself in the face. And she lived, and it's like, he's clearly nowhere in the picture, but one act can almost ruin the rest of your life. It's almost like can give you a really horrible outcome. And the same thing with a lot of these other, when you're thinking about a lot of other young women who want so desperately, and I use the word desperately, I do use the word loosely, because I've encountered so many individuals, so many women, beautiful women on the inside and on the outside. It's like, I just can't find anybody, and I'm like, baby, please understand and enjoy your singleness, because in your singleness is when God can truly really use you. Because when you get married, you have to worry about all these other different things, and you're not focused on yourself anymore. And so it's just, I don't know, for me, I feel like people are still doing soul searching. They feel like, when I get with him, that's when I'll be complete. And I cannot stand when people say, oh, that's my better half. Well, you can say that's your better half, but let me tell you, my husband is my better whole, because two halves don't make a whole. Two wholes make you complete.
All right. So I want to give shout outs to a few people and read some comments on Facebook. I want to say good morning to Mr. Adrian Everett, Miss Lachey Robinson, who says good morning to the Glovers. Happy Valentine's Day.
Good morning. Happy Valentine's Day.
Miss Wendy Wade Stott says happy Valentine's Day to a beautiful couple with a beautiful blessing on the way. Great advice from trained professionals who are living out what they believe. And Miss Linda Jones says, happy Valentine's Day. Love y'all.
We love you too.
Right.
Mama Linda.
Mama Linda.
That's Mama Linda.
And Miss Trina Long says, good morning to my sister.
Good morning, beautiful.
All right. So I want to move on to another topic or a talking point. Do you feel that some people get into relationships out of convenience or love? Like, break that down.
We already know the answer to that one.
Okay.
It's a lot of people that's getting in relationships out of convenience, and it's very, very unhealthy. If you're going into a relationship just to see what you can get out of it, that from the other person, or how you can use or take advantage of a certain situation, then that just shows that you are emotionally immature, first of all. And secondly, it just means that, you're just not ready for that type of situation. Okay. But that often happens. You hear people say, man, I want a woman that got this, or, they got that. And, and it's like, bruh, I mean, you can get that yourself, right? It's okay to have certain standards, okay? But that's not what I'm saying. Let's not get it confused. But when, for instance, you're just looking for that only to see what you can take away from, you see what I'm saying, and to manipulate, then that's not healthy at all. And it's going to come back to bite you, because eventually that person is going to see that you're using them, you're misusing them, or manipulating them, and then they're going to probably fire back, and it's going to be a bad thing. So
yeah, I agree with that.
All right, and then I'm just going to read the list, and then you all can break it down, discuss. Okay. I'm sure these are some things that you deal with in your practice as well. So other important things to discuss: debt, outside children, infertility, mental illness, family members don't accept partner, deal breakers, mutual friends of the opposite sex. So whichever one of those you all want to tackle. Should you, at what point, of course, after you enter the courtship, before you get married, when did you really need to start tackling these discussions and these issues? Or even should you even decide, okay, I want to be in a long-term relationship with this person if they have expressed they have infertility issues or outside children or high debt or things of that nature? Well,
me personally, I don't think anything should stand in the way of love, unless you just, like I said before, emotionally immature, just immature as a person. Because all those things that you're talking about, they can be overcome or they can be conquered. One thing for sure is we all change. It just depends on whether or not you're changing for the better or for the worse. Okay. But no situation is going to be static. So, say for instance, you have a lot of debt, or your partner has a lot of debt. Okay. What's the plan?
We're
going to develop a plan, okay? You need to start paying on your student loans as soon as possible. Can you get into a program or something that's going to help you to pay off your student loans? When we get our tax money together, can we put that towards student loans and help pay down the principal? Just all kind of stuff. So, I mean, if you're willing to work it out, you can get past all of that stuff. Like you say. Now, I would say this in direct response to your question. To me, the most important aspect of that is the financial, though.
Okay. It's the number one reason why a lot of relationships don't last. Is because of instability in their finance.
Okay. So you got to have a healthy plan. Now, I'm telling you now, and a lot of people, they like, well, I work for this, and these my coins, and don't touch my money, and all of that. And they are very hesitant to work out a plan with their partner as to how finances would be distributed and who's responsible for what. But I'm telling y'all people, if y'all don't get anything else from what I'm saying, develop y'all a plan of how you're going to use these finances and resources, okay? Because that is, as my wife said, the number one cause of divorces, breakups, and all of that. People feel as though, I've worked hard for this. There's no way that I'm going to allow this other person to tell me how I'm going to spend this or whatever, and it should never be that type of way. It should be you and that other person coming into a compromise on who's going to do what. And I'll just say, in our household, we have a budget, okay? And we write down everything. And we write down how we bring all our finances, resources to the table. Together. I don't have no hidden money over here, and then I'm putting it all there on the table and saying, this is what we're going to do with what. And then what is left over, we evenly distribute, or we actually keep it as a family and we do things together.
Now, in doing that, we have no secrets when it comes to finance. We do lay it all on the table. But in all actuality, how the other aspect of that is that we have a joint account, but we also have two personal accounts. But we both have access to those accounts. So
that's the key.
You hear a lot of people say, well, it's my money, like my husband said, I worked hard for it. But when you get married, it's no more, it's ours, it's us, it's, we, what are we doing together? And it's all about you guys having a common goal together to share so that you can grow, because when you can build together, you can grow together. Oftentimes we hear people that say it's a family that prays together, stays together, but when you're on the same page, in the same book, in the same chapter, and you're traveling through life together is when things are more simplified. But it's not until you go back to ground zero, the basics, to where again you're really getting to know who you are and what you stand for, and what you know exactly what you're looking for in a partner, and the lifelong partner. Because a marriage is really, it's a partnership, but it's also a business too. And how are we operating and how are we running this business, you know?
Well,
So
just add one other thing too. To me, it's just simple mathematics.
yeah.
Our incomes together
Are
are
better.
going to be able to do much more than our incomes individually. So it's really just that simple. Whatever aspirations you may have, whether it be starting a business, owning a home, making sure you're taking care of the kids, your finances together can do a lot more than individual stuff would ever do. So it's just very simple in my opinion, but some people just don't view it that way. And getting over the selfishness is a big point.
Selfishness.
And you have to be supportive of one another too, because at the end of the day, like for example, me and my husband, we're both adults. I mean, we both have our own opinions and thoughts and views, but it has to be some type of order. And we base our relationship upon biblical principles too. So my husband is the head. Yes, he allows me to have my thoughts and my viewpoint. But at the end of the day, after we've come to the table and we've kind of rationalized everything and we thought about it, he makes the final decision and I support it. Now, if it don't work out right, I don't be like, told you so. I don't do that. We figure out another game plan, another game plan. And that's part of the reason why I've been as successful as I've been, is because he supports my dreams and aspirations as well. Vice versa, I support his dreams and aspirations. And when you can get on one accord and you can support each other, then it makes a world of difference. It's no tug of war, because we're working. That's my partner in life, but that's also my partner who I agree with. The Lord said that we're two or more of standing agreements, things will be on one accord,
All right, so we're going to put a pause right there, take a quick break. I'm loving this conversation. Yeah. Thank you to everyone checking in. We'll get to your comments when we come back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these announcements.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Happy Valentine's Day. KLEK 102.5 FM.
What pressures are your kids facing? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. We like to think that kids have it all easy, that their lives consist of nothing more than good old-fashioned fun. But that couldn't be further from the truth, because each day your child faces huge amounts of pressure. They're pressured to get perfect grades and be accepted into a good college. They're pressured to fit in. They're pressured to have sex. They're pressured to use drugs and alcohol. They're pressured to be the very best player on the team. While the list could go on and on, the bottom line is this. As parents, it's our job to prepare our children to face these pressures. Each day, remind your child that they're a leader, that it's good to be different, to stand up and stand strong, to do what's right. Remember, your family first.
Family Minute is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a non-profit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook and KNOMEGA1908.com.
Family Minute is brought to you by the Gears Foundation, a nonprofit organization providing students with assistance in their academic and career pursuits. Gears Foundation on Facebook, Gears_Inc. on Instagram, and the Gears Foundation at gmail.com.
Calling all women and minority business owners as well as the general public. KLEK 102.5 FM presents the 2019 Women and Minority Business Showcase, Saturday, February 16th from noon until 6 at Centennial Hall in the Arkansas State University Student Union. Live broadcast on KLEK and on Facebook. This is your opportunity to show what your business, church, or organization has to offer to the unique, diverse audience of KLEK listeners, supporters, and the Jonesboro community as a whole, or to just check out all the vendors in attendance. Vendor registration is $25, $50 if you sell items on site, and you can register at klekfm.org, but you must register by February 4th. Free admission to attend. The KLEK Women and Minority Business Showcase is sponsored by the Arkansas State University Office of Diversity and Community Engagement, Full Sun Gifts, and Bancorp South. This event is a KLEK fundraiser.
House of Details, located at 3915 East Highland in Jonesboro, is a proud supporter of KLEK, offering detailing on any type of vehicle: basic wash, hand wash, shampoo, interior cleaning, waxing, buffering, headlight restoration, pickup, delivery, and more, with the motto of anything mean we can clean. Details at 870-273-5187. House of Details on Facebook and at klekfm.org.
The Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated presents our Sonia D. Williams Scholarship Breakfast, Saturday, March 30th at 9 a.m. at the Arkansas State University Spring River Room in the Student Union. The scholarship breakfast will recognize the winners of the Sonia D. Williams Scholarship, which is given each year to deserving African American high school seniors in the area. The featured speaker is Arkansas State Coordinator for Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Miss Deborah Bland. The theme is "Oh, the Places You Will Go." A full breakfast meal will be served. Ticket and other information is available at www.jonesboroalumnidst.org or from any member of the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
KLEK is starting a new fundraiser which will allow listeners to donate to KLEK while buying groceries. KLEK is a part of the Kroger Community Rewards fundraising program. When shoppers visit a participating Kroger and scan his or her Kroger Plus Shoppers card, a portion of the savings goes back to KLEK to help keep it on the air. Details on how to sign up for the program are available at KrogerCommunityRewards.com and at klekfm.org. This is a KLEK fundraiser.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
All right, welcome back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. My special guests are Mr. Leo and Dr. Tamara Pace Glover. Today we're starting off our Marriage Chronicles series. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little tongue-tied. And we are talking about all things. First, we're talking about before the I do. Okay, now you're in this relationship. You decided this is the person I want to be with. Let's have some conversations. Let's put some things on the table. Let's, break it all the way down to the basics. So if you missed the first half, you're going to have to go back and watch the video. So we're gonna keep chugging. But first, before we get into our topic, I want to read a few comments. I say good morning to Mrs. Maddie Warren, Mr. Kobe Parker. He says, wise word, guys. Good morning to Mrs. Annie Everett and D'Angelis Bullard, who says, good morning, you guys. Happy Valentine's Day. Love y'all.
Good morning.
Miss D.
All right.
Miss Annie.
Yes, everybody.
All right, so going back to the list that I gave out earlier, Mr. Leo said he wants to go ahead and get into maybe infertility, mental illness, and family members don't accept your partner.
Definitely. So I'm going to start with the infertility thing first because before Tamara and I got together, I had a person I was dating, and that became an issue. Okay. So it really comes down to, as an individual, once again, what you are wanting, what kind of standards. And when I say standard, it's like, I knew I wanted kids. Okay. And there are other options out there. So if you want to really just be with that person and, you want to explore other options, so far as, adoption and stuff like that, I mean, there's out there. Matter of fact, it's a lot of kids, unfortunately, that need parents, So there are options out there, but it's all about what you want to do as an individual. And there it goes with the communication. Okay, this is what I want, this is what I'm not wanting, and okay, you come to an agreement, and if it's something you can work out, then great, but if not, then you got to go somewhere else, because you don't want to be and form that relationship and then always be sour.
That's true.
Be sour and just angry on the inside, and not really maybe at your partner, but also angry at yourself because you made those choices.
On the flip side of that, concerning having children, should you also discuss how many children you desire, like as an individual?
Well, going back to what my husband said, he said there are other alternatives in the event that a woman or a man cannot have conceive their own child. And even now in Arkansas, there are over 4,000 children in foster care right now who are actually needing, a place or a nice home for people to, to actually love them and raise them. But for us, our lucky number has always been 4. We want 4 children. And so we're expecting our first one in less than 88 days, and so we're excited. Our son will be here May 13th. But I think that it's a conversation that you need to have before you get to the courtship, or especially while you're seriously courting someone. That's the conversation you need to have, so that you won't have no surprises, because those are things that can actually ruin a marriage. They can ruin a friendship. They can ruin a person. And oftentimes, if you settled, and I use the word settle, and I do use that word loosely, because it's like you didn't ask the right questions from day one. And when you're, it's almost like a job interview. It's a little bit more serious than a job interview, but when you're seriously courting someone, I am trying to find out everything about you to see if our lives are going to line up and match well together, and seeing if we're equally yoked. Because if we're not, and if we're in 2 separate books, you talk about 2 separate pages, but some people are in 2 separate books. You in the dictionary, and he or she is over there in an encyclopedia. Y'all all the way messed up, and you're wrong. And if you start out wrong, you are end wrong. So it's kind of one of those things where you just have to talk about. You have to have those courageous conversations.
Okay. Then I want to touch on, it kind of goes also back to what you all mentioned about being platonic friends before you get into the physical aspect of the relationship.
This is the only man I've met in my life. I love this man right here, because when I tell people this is seriously. Leo and I met at a football game. A-State was playing Troy. And we have a different story how we met. No, it's really, look at him looking, because he knows.
I already know.
It was so different. But you said tell it.
You can.
So I was with some of my really good friends, and we were getting ready to leave a football game. But most of the time when you're looking for somebody, it's like these men come up to you and they say they have the worst pickup lines, and it's horrible. And so my friends dared me to go up to a random guy, and use a bad pickup line. And so I did. I said, don't dare me, because I'll do it. I was young. I was much younger. And I saw this guy, and I went up to him. I was like, hey, excuse me, I was wondering if you can help me out. I've misplaced my phone number, and I was wondering if I can get yours.
She said that, y'all.
And when I said it, what did you say?
Girl, get out of here. Oh, my goodness.
And I said, no, for real. And he was like, nah, for real, get out of here. And I was like, I'm Tam. And then he said, I'm Leo. And I said, so where you from? Where you from?
From Pine Bluff.
Me too. I said, so where you go to school? Where you go to undergrad?
UAPB.
Me too. So, what brought you to Jonesboro?
Grad school, A-State.
Me too. So, and it was so random, and so we exchanged numbers, and I didn't think nothing about it. Of course, he called me, of course. But we were friends. We remained friends for a very long time before we took our relationship to the next level. And a lot of people can't say that, because you're thinking that, we're talking, we've been dating for about 3 or 4 minutes, and it's getting really serious. So now, did I say 3 or 4 minutes? Yeah. Literally, 3 or 4 minutes. To me, 3 months, 4 months, that's like minutes compared to your whole life. You know what I'm saying? In all actuality. And it's like, I'm ready to go to the next level. And you begin to share yourself, and you begin to get married in an unholy marriage, because the moment you have intercourse with someone, that's a marriage.
Okay.
It's not one that God approves of, but that's a marriage. And then you begin to get soul ties, and then you begin to, the lines, they just get so tangled. You just can't even clearly see. So if you start off wrong, again, you end up wrong. And then there's a good chance that you will miss all of the red flags. That's how come a lot of times women sacrifice who they are for just dealing with a lot of crap. And the same thing vice versa with the man. They deal with a lot of crap because they can't see it. And even if they do see it, they turn a blind eye.
Wow. So. All right. Good to have service up in here. Going from counseling to service. All right.
Hallelujah.
They are intertwined. For those that don't know, they are intertwined.
All righty. And so, now the next one is dealing with Okay, now you found someone.
Yeah.
But their family don't like you. They like and there's nothing you can do to maybe convince them. But some people still, in the midst of that, get married and still have a lot of, excuse my language, a lot of hell in their relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So I have a lot of views on that. But my first thing I would say is this. Okay, we need to, as a person, if all the anger and I guess hostility or whatever they don't like you is pointed just towards you and not just the relationship, then me, I'd be looking in the mirror like, okay, why they don't like me, No, seriously. And let's examine that, because
that's true.
Hey, if well, all my brothers and sisters, they're happily married right now. But say for instance, like one of my brothers was about to get married, and I knew that the girl that he was with was real promiscuous and she was taggy or whatever, I'm gonna have a problem with that.
Okay.
If my little sister was about to get married and I knew that the guy she was with was a womanizer or a very violent person or whatever, and just doing a bunch of foolishness, I'm gonna have a problem with that.
Okay.
Okay, so it comes down to, what are they angry at you about? Why don't they like you?
Okay.
Now if it's just something like, you've heard about people not liking persons being in a relationship based off their race or their age or something like that, something that you can't change, then that's a different issue. But if they have a legitimate concern, then you need to look in the mirror and be like, man, what, they kind of right. I need to chill out.
Okay.
And that's what I would say to that initially. Second thing is, well, I really just said that. I'll just repeat it. You got to be open to change. Nothing stays the same.
Okay.
So if they don't like you, it's probably a reason.
That's a reason.
But if it's not a good reason, then you got to be like, man, forget them.
We're on the radio.
Yeah, definitely. I don't curse either.
Now he doesn't curse.
Yeah, but forget them, and you got to just move on. Hey. And eventually they'll see that who the person you are, and hopefully they will come around. I'm pretty sure not all her family just love me. I don't know.
They do. You know they
I'm
love
just
me.
saying at first. I'm saying at first.
Oh, yes, because it's a little bit of an age difference, so there was a little bit of concern, but and it's not a major gap, but it was a concern for, and I value my family's opinions and their thoughts. But then as time went on, the more we started to spend those holidays together, the more they got the chance to know Leo, it was completely different. And now they love him. Like, it's nothing that he can call them, and vice versa, they can call him. Wow. But I do believe that in the event that, your family does not agree with your significant other, then you do want to kind of look at what are those reasons, and are they legitimate? Because if they're legitimate, for example, like my husband said, if he's violent towards you, then they got a right to not want you to be with them, because they see some drama coming down the pipeline. So you want to take heed to that. But sometimes we don't always recognize those signs, and we're like, well, you know what? I cut my family off, and I'll go ahead and deal with this other person. And that's a big no-no. That is a big no-no. And so it's all about, honestly, you knowing what you want for yourself and your perception, because perception is reality. And so if you don't have if your perception is skewed, it's not good for the home team. And you can't expect to have a healthy relationship. But again, I agree. If those concerns are serious, then you wanna look at those things. And like my husband saying, being open to change. But you being open to change as an individual, not because your significant other wants you to change. Like, we both changed over the years, but it wasn't because he wanted me to change or I wanted him to change. You know what I'm saying? It was because we had a made up mind that, you know what? I want to be better than I was the day before. I want to do some things different. This is where I'm going in life. And once you can actually get a plan, a lot of people don't know where they're going in life. They just constantly just living life. They just trying to hurry up and get the day over with instead of trying to figure out what they can get from the day.
Oh, wow.
So, you have to figure out, honestly, what you want.
Okay.
Literally.
All right. So one of the other topics on the list was deal breakers. And I can use my previous marriage as an example. We had conversations, but we didn't have real deep talks. And with him being a truck driver and being gone a lot, we didn't. I don't feel like we developed that connection that we really should have as partners, and he comes home on the weekend. It was just enough for him to get some rest, wash, pack, back on the road again. So me trying to be not the person I can be, I kept a lot of stuff in, didn't have a lot of conversations. Things started happening within the marriage. Still not talking about it. We're talking around things, and the walls and the elephants got bigger and bigger, and it eventually became too much. And so sadly, we've had better conversation and get along a lot better now that we're divorced than
when you were
married.
Yeah.
But so
okay. Yeah. Well, just to address your situation real quick, it sounds like there were certain expectations that were held, and then when one or the other person is not meeting that expectation, instead of addressing it, you just didn't want to kind of like upset them or disappoint them, and then like you say, you holding that stuff in. But we already know, and there's something else. Everybody at home, take this with you too. You don't want to hold in negative stuff.
No, that can hurt you.
I use the analogy all the time of the volcano, where the pressure just keeps building. Eventually, the eruption is going to come, and it's going to tear up a lot of stuff. Okay, so whatever you got to do, get that stuff out. You should be able to talk to your partner and unload a lot of that stuff. Might not be able to get it all out at one time, but unload. And it's okay to cry sometime and to talk to your friends and your family and stuff like that, but you definitely don't want to build that stuff up. Now, overall, what you're saying about deal breakers.
What's your deal breaker?
I don't have a deal breaker. The deal breaker is, well, for me, is I don't have any. I mean, I believe that anything can be worked through if you actually have made the decision and you trust your partner and you guys have the commitment toward each other. Okay, we can work through it. Now, there's a lot of stuff I really don't want to see, like for instance, like infidelity or anything like that. Yeah, no, I don't want to deal with that, but you got to work through it. You hear older people who have been in couples for long periods of time. They telling you, they give it to you every time. They all say the same thing. Is you got to work through that stuff, whatever it may be.
We all look at when we get to the altar. We all look at that for richer or for poor. Okay. For better or for worse. We good when everything, the money's there. We're good when everything is going good. But when you get poor or for the worse, nobody thinks about that. And you get sick, and it's kind of like these are things that again you should have addressed in the beginning to know that regardless. Come hell or hot water, I'm riding with you till the wheels fall off. Like, we don't even discuss, we don't know, we've removed the D word out of our vocabulary. We did that when we got engaged because we knew long term that we were going to stick it out regardless of what came, And so one of the things I will say is, sometimes I think God gives you confirmation on who your soul partner is or your lifelong partner is. And I had two encounters. One when Leo and I were friends before we even started dating, and we were hanging out, and he literally just made a meal out of nothing. And I know that may be something small, but I knew right then and there that he was. I did that. You did that, baby. I knew right then and there he was a provider. That's awesome. The second time we were dating, and it was New Year's Eve, and we were at church. And we brought in the New Year's at church, and we left. And our parents live right around the corner from each other. That's another thing. Like, I didn't even meet Leo in Pine Bluff. I met him here in Jonesboro. But our parents live right around the corner from each other. And so he dropped me off at home around 1 o'clock after we left church, and he went his way. And so he went home. And so around 5 o'clock that morning, I just started having the worst pain in my stomach. I was just feeling really bad. I couldn't even walk. And my mom had to take me to the hospital. And so when my mom took me to the emergency room, I called Leo to let him know, and this was around 5 o'clock in the morning. Before I could hang up the phone, I promised the man was at the hospital. Do you hear me? He was at the hospital, and he stayed with me the entire time. But not only did he stay in there with me, he prayed for me and everything. He was right by my side, and I knew right then and there come push to shove, he was going to be by my side regardless. And I think that when we're talking about love and we're talking about spending the rest of our lives with someone, you have to know that you want to be with that person whether they're up or whether they're down. And I think the beauty about being with someone is that no matter where they are in life, I'm going to support him. I'm going to be with him. I got his back. He got my back. I got his front. He got my front side. You know, it's like I haven't met another man on this earth that I would have rather spent the rest of my life with, let alone start a whole family with and have their children. And I'm just being honest.
Can y'all package that in balance?
Let me just add one thing too. I actually need to retract what I said earlier because there is a deal breaker for me.
Okay.
All right, and the deal breaker is a person who's not willing to change.
Okay.
If you, and I hear people say that all the time, like, she know who I am. I ain't changed. I'm the same on me. That is not good, brother. Sister, same thing.
Yes, that's horrible.
He knew how I was before we even met. I ain't changing for that. That is not good. That's terrible. That means you're not able to grow.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
So
you're not
stuck in
able
this
to
little-
grow. You know, we all have our personalities, okay? And we're not asking you to, they shouldn't be asking you to have a whole personality change, but you should be willing to grow in certain areas. And then over time, as you continue to grow in all these different areas, your personality actually will change.
Okay.
And, you know, hopefully for the better.
Yes.
You know, because even if you're with a person, we talked about earlier, a person that's violent, okay? Now, look.
Oh,
He
that's
might
a deal breaker.
have grew up around that, and he, you know, was in an abusive family and stuff like that. So his first reaction is to lash out in physical ways. But then, you know, he got to be willing to go. Let's get some counseling, okay? Let's work on that. Let's change. You can't be hitting me, okay? And then if that person, him or her, because we know women can be violent as well. If they're showing that they're willing to change and they actually have, you know, repented of that, y'all praying together, whatever, they repent, they stop doing it, then hey, well, that's not a deal breaker no more.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to get ready for a break, and I want to read a few more comments here. Ms. Rayshawn Higgins says, I see
That's
you.
your boy.
He says, Reverend Dr. Leo. Leola Burnett says, good morning and happy Valentine's Day. # power couple, you guys rock.
Yeah.
And Chelsea Chapman says, I love it, Black love on Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, Glovers. Beautiful couple. Love this wisdom given.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all for your comments, for tuning in. Share this video. We'll be up on YouTube also later, but we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back after these announcements.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. Here are important keys to keep in mind when you begin to create your investment plan. Invest only in what you understand. Venturing into unfamiliar investment areas or exotic, complicated opportunities can be a prescription for failure and financial losses. Start simple by creating cash reserves for tomorrow's needs, and then perhaps index and bond funds, for example. As you become a more experienced investor with a larger portfolio and your time horizon gets longer, you can then add more complex and risky investments. Losses are going to happen. The bottom line, don't treat investing like a lottery or gambling at the casino, but educate yourself. Ideally, with the help of a good financial planner, to be comfortable with enough risk to get consistent returns on your investments in the long run. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters, a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Money Matters is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization focused on joy in our sisterhood, power in our voice, and service in our hearts. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Money Matters is brought to you by Bancorp South, offering checking, savings, loans, credit cards, and wealth management. 5 locations in Jonesboro to serve you. www.bancorpsouth.com or 870-972-9800.
Money Matters is brought to you by the Gears Foundation, a nonprofit organization providing students with assistance in their academic and career pursuits. Gears Foundation on Facebook, Gears_Inc. on Instagram, and the Gears Foundation at gmail.com.
Support for KLEK is brought to you by...
This is a story I heard my late father-in-law, Glenn Sane, tell many times. Back then, when you ordered a part, you fill out a ticket, and a copy of the ticket would come back with a part with their signature who ordered it. Glenn got a call one day about a part on a rail car up there, and he went and checked it out. His parts ticket was on a school bus chassis with his signature. He missed a number by one. Instead of a $3 part, he had a complete school bus chassis. Glenn Sane, God bless our troops.
Edgy Studios, 209 Union Street in Jonesboro, offers photography for portraits, weddings, and engagements, senior portraits, family and maternity shoots, and all occasions. Edgy Studios focuses on photography that is unique and outside of the norm. Owner Andrew Daly is available at 870-243-0308 or www.ejjistudios.com.
The Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated was established on January 1st, 1977, originally serving Blytheville, Arkansas, and now serving Jonesboro, Blytheville, Osceola, Marion, and West Memphis, Arkansas. Today, the chapter continues to make an impact by focusing on Alpha's national community outreach initiatives such as My Brother's Keeper, A Voteless People is a Hopeless People, Go to High School, Go to College, Project Alpha, Boy Scouts, and the March of Dimes. The Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is committed to Alpha's mission of developing leaders, promoting brotherhood and academic excellence, while providing service and advocacy to the community. More information about the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is available at MOL Alphas on Facebook or via email at molalphas@gmail.com.
Hello, I'm Officer Victoria Evans. I have always had a desire to help others in need and to be an example and role model to young women by encouraging them to never give up on their dreams. My dream was to become a police officer and to serve my community. In 2016, that dream became a reality, and it is the most rewarding experience of my life. Now I want to let you know about the same opportunity. The Jonesboro Police Department will conduct testing every month for patrol officers. Applications are available online at jonesboropolice.com or at the Police Department, 1001 South Caraway Work. The Jonesboro Police Department offers a competitive salary, health, and retirement benefits, top-of-the-line training, and most importantly, the chance to make a difference in the Jonesboro community. Join me in making Jonesboro a better place. The Jonesboro Police Department is an equal opportunity employer, and women and minorities are especially encouraged to apply. More information is available at 870-935-5657.
Hi, this is Charlie Wilson wishing you happy Valentine's Day.
Hey, this is Marsha Ambrosius wishing you a happy Valentine's Day.
This is Brian McKnight wishing you a happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. KLEK 102.5 FM.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
All right, welcome back to our last segment of Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. I hope that you have been enjoying this conversation. Quite a few people have been listening and chiming in. Thank you so very much for that. I want to say good morning to Samuel Glover, who says, hey, family, love y'all. Happy Valentine's Day. And Erica Jackson said, this should be interesting. Erica, you missed a lot of great conversation. We've had some wonderful talking points going on, so you're gonna have to go back and watch the video from the beginning when this live is over. And so this last segment, I would love for the Glovers to please wrap up our discussion, things we've talked about for those that missed some of the beginning, and then give us some tips and some recommendations on how to start this process of communicating and really getting to know our partner. Maybe some books that you all have read or can recommend, and maybe your services for counseling.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Quabila. One of the books that I read before Leonardo and I decided to get to the altar and take that covenant in front of that holy covenant in front of God is by Dr. Miles Monroe, The Purpose, The Power and Purpose of Love and Marriage. And he has a couple of great principles, but in the first chapter, he talks about how marriage is still a good idea because it's a God idea. Okay. He also talks about how marriage is the foundational institution that predates all other institutions. So it's the highest institution or the highest relationship that one can actually enter into. And how sex is not the primary purpose of marriage as well, and godly marriages develop over time. Oftentimes I found that people spend more time on planning their wedding than planning their marriage. And that is what it won't, that concept or that thought process will only lead you down the road that's, a bad road, and you'll end up having an unhealthy marriage. And like my husband was saying, you have to be willing to change. Okay. So even now, we're growing together, not individually. We're individuals and we're doing our own thing, but at the same time, we're building a solid foundation. It's because it's founded upon biblical principles. Like, he is the head. Like, I am an adult, but at the end of the day, anything with two heads is considered what? It's considered a freak. Okay. It's considered some type of monster. And so there has to be somebody leading and there has to be somebody following. Okay. And as long as I think, especially with women, as long as you end up with a godly man, and that was a deal breaker for me. He had to be a spiritual, a godly man, somebody that's following Jesus Christ. Because as long as he's following Jesus Christ, then that means he is going to treat me like Jesus loved the church. He's going to treat me right. He's going to love me, value me, and respect me, right? And as long as I submit myself to him, then he knows that he's going to get that same treatment as well. And sometimes we only think about the woman being submissive, but it's both the husband being submissive as well. And so at any rate, that was definitely a deal breaker for me. It had to be a godly man, and I definitely thank God for my husband each and every day. And I tell him all the time, when I count my blessings, I count them twice because he's been so good to me.
I remember when I first met you and you mentioned, your husband, and I was just in awe, like, wow, I want that, at some point, but I'm willing to wait on it and not rush into it. I think a lot of times we get men and women, we get desperate, we get lonely.
That's it.
And we allow our loneliness to push us into a situation that
we go with convenience.
Oh, yes.
And if we settle for someone who's always just making us their convenience, we'll miss out on the man who will make us their priority. Mm-hmm. So, and I told them at church when I spoke, I think it was last year before last, I can't remember, but I had to speak on Esther. And I was just telling them how it's so important. We were talking about the importance of marriage and how the king at that time treated his wife. And I was just basically saying, I would have waited 1,000 lifetimes for my husband because he is the one. And so it's a blessing when you can wait on the right person. But while you're waiting, it's not just you're sitting there. You're still working on yourself, trying to find out what you want. And when you know that, that's a key element that you will bring to the table so that you can be whole and you allow yourself to have a happy life, a happy marriage.
That'll be the next topic in the waiting season. In the waiting room.
All right.
So we got about a minute and a half.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and I guess kind of wrap this thing up for those who just catching on. And I think some of the highlights of what we're saying is that, first of all, really take the time to get to know who your partner is.
Absolutely.
Take the time to get past the facade. And then in doing so, you really want to be open. You have to open yourself up to that other person, and you got to get all the bad things out, let them know all the bad stuff, and not just the good stuff that you want them to think about, but you got to get the bad stuff out too. Seriously, because if you don't, then those things are going to come up later on in life, and they're going to cause issues. Another thing is, ultimately, we all have to be willing to change. Even what she was saying, her personal deal breaker was a man who has lived a godly life. Okay. Well, some people aren't raised that way. I'll just say it like that. But willingness to change and to grow. And that's it. I mean, if you're willing to change, then that's going to solve a whole lot of problems in and of itself.
Yeah.
Not being prideful, recognizing where the faults are. Sometimes we just so much pride, we don't want to say that we're in the wrong or we've done anything incorrectly. Okay? But that is fool's gold. That's not going to help you people. I'm telling you now. So yes, if it's certainly. So recognize that where the problem is. Be honest with yourself and with your other partner, and be willing to change. And then last thing I would say, I hadn't spoke a lot on this, but my wife has really said it several times. For us, what has worked the best, and I know it's going to work for you too, is you got to get your relationship with God right.
Okay.
Understand who God is and who Jesus is and the love that he has shown us. And in doing so, you will learn to love yourself, and then you will be
Thank you
able to
for
love
listening to
somebody
Community
else.
Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this